Next, I will move to the third part of our session, emotional labor. Actually, we talked about emotional labor under the last topic, but in a different context in relation to discrimination and inclusion. Today, I will discuss this topic in detail. What is emotional labor? You know that there are three types of labor: manual labor, intellectual labor, and emotional labor. If I start with the manual labor, that is physical work done by people. It is most done with hands and any of the muscles and bones of the body. Intellectual labor, it reflects all those forms of labor in which the work is by the brain rather than by the hand. It is more closely related to or dependent on the working of the mind or brain. Then the third one, emotional labor, it is the process of managing feeling and expressions to fulfill the emotional requirements of a job. Under this, workers are expected to regulate their emotions during interactions with customers, co-workers, and managers. Here we have few definitions. According to the first definition, emotional labor is management of feeling to create a publicly observable facial and bodily display. This process is actually sold for a wage and therefore has exchange value. According to this definition, it refers to regulating emotional expressions with others as part of one's professional work role. For example, the instance that employees have to always smile at customers. Then the prevention of response to a customer when they treat an employee rudely or inappropriately. But sometimes emotional labor is unpaid, often invisible work that a person is compelled to do to keep others happy. According to the second definition, it is the act of displaying the appropriate emotion with the goal to engage in the form of impression management for the organization. Display appropriate emotions. It is formal, they are informal and formal norms that regulate the expressions of workplace emotions. Organization do these things to meet at least three objectives: please customers, then maintain internal harmony, and promote employee well-being. Workers have to regulate their emotions in order to manage the impressions of the organization. According to Morris and Feldman, emotional labor is the effort, planning, and control needed to express organizationally desired emotion during interpersonal transactions. According to Grantley, it is the process of regulating both feelings and expressions for organizational goals. Simply, it is having to keep a fake smile on your face all day, often because you work in a service industry job, regardless of how you're really feeling, because customers and your boss might complain if you are anything less than cheery. Simply, it is when someone feels the need to suppress their own emotions. Moving to jobs involving emotional labor, there are jobs that require face-to-face or voice-to-voice contact with the public. For example, teaching, then receptionists, cashiers, or flight attendants. Then there are jobs that require the worker to produce an emotional state in another person, such as caregiving professionals like nursing, therapy, and elder support, and people management and human resource management related workers. Then there are jobs that allow employees through training and supervision to exercise a degree of control over emotional activities of employees. For example, law enforcement institution and management services. All of those workers, all of those sectors, workers in all of those sectors, they have to use emotional labor in order to treat their customers. Then this actually people who do jobs in areas such as public administration, law, then childcare, healthcare, social work, hospitality, media require emotional labor. And now look at these. There are two dimensions of emotional labor: surface acting and deep acting. I explained these two under the previous session also. First one, surface acting. Surface acting involves faking the required emotions. Actually, that is when people engage in surface acting, they do not actually try to feel the emotions they wish to portray. So it involves faking the required emotions, pretending or regulating emotional expressions. They may put on fake smiles or other required emotional displays that do not reflect their true feelings. Simply, it is expressing an emotion without feeling that emotion. For example, even though you are sad, you have to display a happy face. In surface acting, employees just follow the display without altering their inner feelings. They don't feel the emotions actually. Employees conform to the display rules to keep the job and get the awards, but they are no intention to help customers really. For example, a hotel front desk employee may put on a smile and cheerfully greet a customer even if she is feel down. දැන් මෙතනදී කරන්නේ ඇත්තටම surface acting වලදී ඔයාලා ඒ feeling එක ඇත්තටම නෑ. ඔයා ඇත්තටම සතුටු නෑ, cheerful නෑ. හරි? තෘප්තිමත් නෑ. ඔයා ඉන්නේ දුකින් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. නමුත් ඔයා ඒ රස්සාවේ අවශ්‍යතාවය fulfill කිරීම සඳහා හිනා මූණක් දාගෙන සතුටු මූණක් දාගෙන සමහර වෙලාවට අනිත් අය හිංසා කරදර කරද්දීත් ඒවා ඉවසගෙන දරාගෙන ඉන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. Right? So that is about surface acting. Then moving to the deep acting. එතකොට ඇත්තට මේ surface acting වලදී වෙන්නේ අපි fake අපි ඇත්තටම නැති දේවල් අපේ emotions අපි තියෙන බවට පෙන්වන එක තමයි surface acting වලින් තියෙන්නේ. එතකොට මේ අපේ නැති හැඟීමක් අපි තියෙනවා කියලා පෙන්වනකොට ඒක අපිට ඉතාමත් අමාරුයි. අපි අකමැති ඈත් එක්ක hina වෙන එක. ඒ වගේ දෙයක් තමයි මෙතන වෙන්නේ. දැන් ඔයාලා දන්නවා දැන් රිසෙප්ෂනිස්ලා එහෙම නැත්නම් කැෂියර්ලා ඔය සුපර් මාකට්ස් වල අපිට ආයිබෝවන් කියනවා, good morning කියනවා. අපි මූණ දිහාවත් බලන්නේ නැතුව, ඇස් දිහාවත් බලන්නේ නැතුව හරිම මෙකැනිකලි. එතකොට ඒ ඇත්තට මේගොල්ලෝ අපිට ග්‍රීට් කරන්නේ නැහැ. එතකොට එයාලගේ ස්මයිල් එක ෆේක්. එයාලගේ අයිබෝවන් එක ඒ good morning එක ෆේක්. එයාලා ආයාසයක් දරනවා මේක හංගන්න සැබෑ ෆීලින්ස් හංගලා ඒ cheerful මූණක් දාගෙන කස්ටමර් කියන ඕනෙම දෙයක් අහගෙන ඉන්න එයාලා ලොකු එෆර්ට් එකක් දරනවා. එතකොට මේක දීර්ඝ කාලීනව හානිදායක වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Then we have defecting. It occurs when employees feeling do not fit the situation. Actually, they use their training or past experiences to work up appropriate emotions. Here, actually, this defecting, it is an effortful process through which employees change their internal feelings to align with organizational expectations, producing more natural and genuine emotional displays. හැබැයි defecting වලදී වෙන්නේ අපි අපේ මේ inner feelings අපි align කරගන්නවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් change කරනවා මේ රස්සාවේ expectations වලට අනුව වැඩ කරන්න. බොහොම ස්වභාවික විදිහේ සිනාවක් ස්වභාවික විදිහේ හැඟීම් display වෙන විදියට අපේ feelings අපි change කරගන්න සැබෑවටම change කරගන්න උත්සාහයක් යොදනවා defecting වලදී. Here, rather than mere faking this unfelt feeling, individuals actively alter inner feelings to express the emotion they wish to display or that is required by the job. එතකොට මෙතනදී වෙන්නේ රස්සාවෙන් අපේක්ෂා කරන ඒ feeling එක එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ කස්ටමර්ස්ලා බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන ඒ emotion එක ඇතුළෙන්ම එන විදිහේ දෙයක් ඒගොල්ලෝ නිර්මාණය කර ගන්නවා. To accomplish this, employees actually they suppress their emotions, right? And they exert a huge effort to do that. එතකොට මේක කරන්න එයාලගේ අර සැබෑ emotions සියල්ල දැඩි ලෙස යටපත් කරගෙන මේ අර එයාලගෙන් අපේක්ෂා කරන සිතුවිල්ල ඇත්තටම තියෙන level එකකට බවට පත් වෙන්න උත්සාහයක් දැරීම සිද්ධ කරනවා. By doing so, they will be able to feel, think and act organizationally desired emotions. For example, teachers may induce pleasant memories to alter feeling of actually this disgust or any other unpleasant feeling in the course of teaching. Within this process, they would have redefined the situation. Then teachersලා ඇත්තටම මේ emotional labor use කරන කට්ටිය මොකද එක ගුරුවරයෙක් ඔයාලා දන්නවා සමහරවිට ළමයි 50ක් එක්ක විතර වැඩ කරනවා. එතකොට ඒ process එක තුල ළමයි දරුවෝ 50ක් විතර බලා ගන්නකොට මේ එක එක දරුවන්ගේ දේවල් එක එක දරුවන්ගේ ක්‍රියාකාරකම් නිසා ඒගොල්ලන්ට සමහර වෙලාවට තරහ යන්නත් පුළුවන්. නමුත් එයාලා යම්කිසි උත්සාහයක් දරනවා මේ තරහ පෙන්වන්නේ නැතුව තමන්ගේ හැපි ෆේස් එකක් තියාගෙන එයාගේ කිසිම ෆීලිං එකක් පෙන්වන්නේ නැතුව ඒ දරුවොත් එක්ක හොඳින් ඉන්න. එතකොට ඒ රස්සාවේ අවශ්‍යතාවය. එතකොට ඔයාලට සමහර තරහ ගියත් තරහ පෙන්නලා කෑ ගහලා ළමයින්ට බනින්න විදියක් නැහැ. එතකොට ඒක දැඩි ලෙස කන්ට්‍රෝල් කිරීමට සිද්ධ වෙනවා. කන්ට්‍රෝල් කරනවා විතරක් නෙමෙයි ඔයා මේවා සැබවින්ම එනවා වගේම දක්වන්න ඕනේ. හරි? එතකොට මට උදාහරණයක් මතක් වෙනවා. මම ඔයාලට මේක සමහරට කලින් කියන්නත් ඇති. මගේ දුවලා පොඩි කාලේ යාළගේ නර්සරි එකදී එක වෙලාවක් ඇත්තටම බබාලා අඬනකොට ටීචර්ත් අඬනවා විහිළුවට. එතකොට ටීචර් අඬනවා දකින්නකොට ළමයි මේ ළමයි අඬන එක නවත්තනවා. එතකොට ඒ ගුරුවරයා අර එයා දුකෙන් වගේ. එහෙම දෙයක් ඇත්තටම එයා ඇති කරගන්නවා ඒ අර ළමයිනුත් එක්ක හොඳින් වැඩ කිරීම සඳහා. හරි. එතකොට මේකේ මේ ඩීප් ඇක්ටිං වල පොසිටිව් වගේම නෙගටිව් දේවලුත් හොයාගෙන තියෙනවා. right? බලපෑම් රිසර්චර්ස්ලා ඔප්පු කරලා තියෙනවා. Now look at this. Especially this service work such as healthcare, childcare, law enforcement, entertainment. For example, these service work imposes a demand on workers to manage their emotions. Right? Workers must meet this demand by exerting some level of effort. For example, in the airline industry, managers, they train flight attendants to present a calm, friendly and professional appearance to customers, even if the passengers they are attending to are actually angry or abusive. Now, not only female workers, but also male workers, both workers perform this emotional labor. This employees, they conform to display rules to keep their job and get awards, but there are no intention to help customers. For example, a hotel front desk employee may put on a smile and cheerfully greet a customer even if she is feeling down. Right? So that is another example for the second one. That is another example for actually surface acting. Actually, I gave that example earlier also. Right? Now, now look at this. Emotional labor create a stress for service workers that may negatively impact their psychological, behavioral, and physical well-being. Researchers have found that emotional dissonance or a conflict between how workers really feel and the surface acting that they are expected to perform create health problems for workers. Actually, this dissonance, right? It means a conflict between how workers really feel and their surface acting. ඇත්තටම යාළගේ feeling එක මොකක්ද සහ යාළට පෙන්වන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන feeling එක අතර gap එකක් තියෙනකොට මේක මේ workersලට negative විදිහට බලපානවා කියලා researchersලා හොයාගෙන තියෙනවා. It causes service workers stress, then anxiety and even resentment against their employers, as well as sometimes toward customers, and ultimately it will create this long-term burnout. If you have, for example, if you have taken a Uber, right, or Pick Me recently, perhaps you have noticed a sign in the car, please rate me 5 stars. These companies rely on customers' rating systems that often requires workers to maintain near perfect review. If an Uber driver falls below a certain point, they will be deactivated. Therefore, these workers end up performing outsized amount of emotional labor to make the customer's experience a positive one, so that users come back to the platform. එතකොට මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ? ඔයාලා මේක එක්තර experience කරලා ඇති සමාන වෙලාවට banks වල, hotels වල, මේ Uber වගේ platforms වල ඒ කස්ටමර්ට සර්විස් එක ගත්තට පස්සේ යාළුව රේට් කරන්න දෙනවා. හරි සමහර වෙලාවට අර laughing face එකක් එක්ක සමහර වෙලාවට numbers වලින් ඒගොල්ලන්ව රේට් කරන්න තියෙනවා. එතකොට මේ රේට්ස් මත තමයි මේ workerව තියා ගන්නවද නැද්ද කියලා තීරණය කරන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒගොල්ලෝ සමහරවිට කස්ටමර්ස්ලා නරක විදියට හැසිරෙනවා, අඩුවෙන් සල්ලි දෙනවා. හරි ඒගොල්ලන්ට හොඳට කතා කරන්නේ මේ සියල්ලම තියෙද්දි තර තමන්ගේ මේ රස්සාව තියා ගැනීම සඳහා ඒ සියල්ලම ඉවසාගෙන එයාලට ඒව දරාගෙන ඉන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. මොකද හදිස්සියේ එයාලට අඩුවෙන් රේට් දැම්මොත් එහෙම ඒ රස්සාවම නැති වෙලා යන්න පුළුවන් මේ වර්කර්ස්ලට. ඉතින් දැන් ඔයාලා දකිනවා සමහර මේ පහුගිය දවස්වල පොලිසියත් එක්ක හමුදා නිලධාරීනුත් එක්ක ඉතා විශාල කතා බහ යනවා අපේ මේ ප්‍රොටෙස්ට් කරන අය. ඉතින් ඒගොල්ලන් හැංගීම් විරහිතව ඒවට සවන් දෙනවා ඔයාලා බලාගෙන ඉන්න ඇති බොහෝ වෙලාවට. හරි එතකොට මේක මේ සමහරවිට ඒගොල්ලන් තරහත් යනවා ඇති. නමුත් එයාලට රියැක්ට් කරන්න බෑ. එයාලගේ රැකියාව තුළ ඒ කාම් විදියට ඒ පේෂන්ට් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. නමුත් ඉතාමත් මේක දීර්ඝ කාලීනව කන්ට්‍රෝල් කරාම ඒක ඉතාමත් නරක විදිහට මේක යටපත් කරාම නරක විදිහට ඒක මතුවෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා රිසර්චර්ස්ලා හොයාගෙන තියෙනවා. right this work right extend beyond good customer service. It involve actively reshaping a worker's inner emotional life to conform to employers and customers expectations of emotional performance. එතකොට මෙතනදී ඇත්තටම වෙන්නේ අර ආයතනයේ අයිතිකරුවන්ගේ එහෙම නැත්නම් එයාලගේ කස්ටමර්ස් ලගේ රික්වයර්මන්ට්ස් වලට අනුව යම්කිසි පුද්ගලයෙකුට එයාගේ සැබෑ ඉමෝෂන්ස් චේන්ජ් කරගන්න වෙනවා. එතකොට මේක දීර්ඝ කාලයක් සිද්ධ කරාම ඒක ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ සෞඛ්‍යයට බොහෝ දුරට හොඳ නෑ කියන කතාව තමයි කියන්නේ. Right? Researchers have found that emotional labor can create health complications such as job stress, job strain, burnout, depression, anxiety, anger, and this reduced self-esteem and other things. They have found that emotional labor reduces job satisfaction of workers. Studies or scholars have revealed that emotional labor associated with violence at workplace. According to them, this continued emotional labor may spill over into outright acts of violence in the workplace. Further, they have found that emotional labor spent in suppressing emotions at the workplace could eventually result in disruptions in sleep patterns as well as suicidal tendencies which are rooted in depression and anxiety problems. එතකොට ඔයාලා දකින්න මේ සමහර වෙලාවට මේ confused වෙච්ච, stress වෙච්ච, burnout වෙච්ච police officersලා එයාගේ partnersලාට හිතන් වෙඩි තියලා මරණා තියෙනවා ඔයාලා මේ ලංකාවේ මෑතකදී හිටන් අහන්න ලැබෙන්නේ නැති. එතකොට මේ දීර්ඝ කාලයක් එයාලගේ emotions control කිරීමේ ප්‍රතිඵල තමයි ඒවා දැඩි violence විදිහට එළියට එන්න පුළුවන්. Right? So based on these figures, we can conclude that emotional labor negatively influence mental well-being of employees. Some researchers, they talked about positive aspects of actually this deep acting, but especially this surface acting create a lot of negative impact to employees, right? We know that mental well-being of employees directly influence their individual performance, relationships with others, and finally organizational performance. So it is very important to execute strategies to promote mental well-being among workers in your organizations. You can establish an employee assistance program for your organization. The purpose is to assist employees in solving personal problems and work-related problems. This employee assistance programs offers free and confidential assessment, short-term counseling, and this program assists employees to solve personal and work-related problems. These EAPs address a broad and complex body of issues affecting mental and emotional well-being of employees, such as stress, then grief, and other psychological disorders. These EAP counselors, they also work in a consultative role with managers and supervisors to address employees and organizational challenges and needs. I believe that all organizations should have this type of programs to assist workers. Then train leaders and managers on mental health. Make them mandatory for leaders and managers. Then they will be able to create healthy environment for employees and build as much flexibility as possible into all employees' schedule, right? You can use, as managers, you can introduce flexible work schedules for your employees. So in a way that they can balance both family life and work life, and offer access to application that can help with sleep and stress reduction. Help them and introduce different type of strategies to reduce their stress as well as to reduce their sleeping disorders, and offer them meditation room, offer them mindfulness training, yoga classes at work. Provide those facilities for your workers. Then encourage employees to use their vacation time. Ask them to use their vacation time. They need a vacation, right? From time to time. Some companies do this by limiting the amount of vacation employee can roll over into the next year. Some organizations don't let employees to take this leave to another year, right? They have to use it within this year, right? So encourage employees to use their vacation time. Then provide accommodations and develop a return to work process so that employees who need to take leave of absence because of a mental health issue feel supported when they come back. Provide accommodation for your workers, right? Provide facilities for workers who have mental health issues, right? Ensure that they can come back, right, after treating their mental health issues, right? And create opportunities for employees to build connections with each other, such as through social events, affinity groups, and electronic message boards. Employees latter පුළුවන් තරම් connect වෙන්න එකිනෙකත් එක්ක වැඩ කරන්න එයාලගේ social needs fulfill කරගන්න අවස්ථාව සලසලා දෙන්න. Teams විදියට වැඩ කරන්න අවස්ථාව සලසලා දෙන්න. ඒ තුලින් මේ mental well-being එක ඇති කරන්න පුළුවන් organizations වලට, right? එතකොට මේ හැම දෙයකින්ම අපි උත්සාහ කරන්න ඕනේ managers ලා විදියට healthy environment එක හරි organization එක තුල ඇති කරලා employee well-being එක වැඩි කිරීම තමයි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ, right? Now let me share a small video clip on emotional labor.
Emotional labour is a type of labour, similar to physical and cognitive labour. It's when we have to exert effort to express emotions at work, particularly when we're dealing with people outside of our work.
In many organisations, employees are expected to adhere to what is known as organisational display rules. These are expectations about the emotions that employees ought to display when interacting with customer clients or patients.
The types of careers that involve a lot of emotional labour are those careers where you spend a lot of time interacting with people outside the organisation. So nurses or police officers, parking attendants or customer complaint officers are typical of the kinds of jobs that involve emotional labour. We know from the literature and from our own research that there are broadly two ways in which people can approach their emotional labour. We think of those as being surface acting and deep acting.
Surface acting is when you display emotions that you don't genuinely feel, either by faking emotions or suppressing emotions or amplifying emotions. Deep acting is when you try to genuinely feel the emotions that you ought to display, such as taking the perspective of another person and trying to feel what they feel.
In our research, what we found is that when people use surface acting strategies, it's much more detrimental to work outcomes. They feel much worse at work because it's very difficult to maintain two types of emotions at the same time. It becomes emotionally exhausting very quickly. What we also know is that it starts to affect how you feel about your work and how you feel about yourself. On the other hand, when you're deep acting, because you've managed to realign your emotions and you're using genuine emotions in your interaction, it means that the response from the other person is much more genuine and much more positive. And so you then feel reinforced or rewarded for the effort you've put in. And that means that you feel genuinely more committed to the role, you feel genuinely that you're doing a good job. And that has an impact on your performance and also on your well-being at work. So what is the impact of emotional labour on absenteeism? We've calculated, based on our research in hospitals, that for a small to medium-sized hospital to replace the additional time that nurses take as sick leave due to using strategies that are not very effective is about 100,000. So that's a significant impact on a bottom line for a small organisation over a year.
It's important for us to be aware of the impact that emotional labour has on individuals in terms of their well-being, and also the impact that emotional labour has on organisational outcomes, including bottom line outcomes, because then we'll be able to create a more sustainable workforce where people are able to be engaged and productive at work.